Hello everyone, welcome back to Crack Grade B. So our last class got disrupted due to some technical issue. Let's start again. We were discussing Ministry of Rural Development schemes. Few of the schemes have been launched in the what you can say from the decade starting from 1960s till early 2000s, right? All these schemes are somehow in some way important for you, right? What you have to remember is in which year this particular scheme has been launched, what is the name of the scheme. Now if it has merged into some another scheme or if it has been renamed into some another scheme, you have to remember the name of that particular scheme as well. What else you should remember is the obviously the objectives for which the scheme was started at that particular moment of time, right? And apart from it, the another thing which I would like to tell you is all the schemes which are running at present time, I am going to discuss them in detail, right? But first of all the schemes which have been launched in the past, we are going to discuss them briefly. Briefly means I'll cover them very quickly. This is your homework. You have to study all these previous schemes. Some of these schemes have been merged into new schemes. So we are going to discuss those new schemes in detail. Nothing to worry about that. But previous schemes will be short enough in this particular video and you have to talk about them or you have to read about them on your own. So let's start with IADP. IADP is the Intensive Agricultural Development Program started in 1960-61. At that particular time, India was facing food shortage. We were importing food grains from various countries all over the world. USA was a big support to us at that particular time. You can call it as support as well as some other policies which running over by USA. So at that particular moment of time, India was all short of food and hence our focus was that we should be having food program so that we can progress on the front of food technology. So integrated agricultural development program, first it was started with 7 selected districts. Now the focus was this was need of the moment at that particular time. Improve seeds, irrigation, fertilizers, plant protection, implements, credit, etc. Next, 1964-65 Green Revolution was came in, and Green Revolution was all about use of pesticides, fertilizers, and the high yielding variety of seeds, so that your food grain production can be taken to a newer heights, and it did. India became self-sufficient in the food grains production. Next is Rural Works Program. Started in 1970-71. Object was creating assets designed to reduce the severity of the droughts. Now, creating some durable assets, providing employment to the rural population, all of these objectives somewhere got merged. And due to this merging, we came to know a new program known as the MG-NREGA or the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, right? So you will see small parts of this particular schemes all over in the previous what you can say schemes. Next is drought prone area program. Origin can be traced back to Rural Works Program. What was the aim was? Emphasis was on irrigation projects, land development projects, afforestation and creation of basic rural infrastructure. In 1973-74 only we came up with a new program called as Hill Area Development Program. Focus was on the hill states like hilly districts of Assam, UP, Darjeeling of West Bengal, Nilgiris of Tamil Nadu and Western Ghats Development Program as well. Now what they wanted to do over here is they wanted to do the development, but at the same time they focused on the prevailing conditions at that particular moment of time. They never wanted to alter the area. They wanted to carry out development works, but whatever was the suitable as per the ecology of these particular hill districts. So you see, the focus has been on horticulture, plantation agriculture like your tea, So next is animal husbandry, poultry, forestry and small scale and village industries. Next is CADP, Command Area Development Program. I have told you what is the command area. Command area is the area nearby your irrigation projects like your dams, canals and etc etc. Whatever your irrigation projects are, the area surrounding that particular area is known as the command area. The aim was to reduce the gap between irrigation potential and actual utilization and to improve the socio-economic conditions of the farmer. A particular command area development authority was set up. This was back in 1974. Now, what were the aims? Construction of field channel within the reach of each command outlet. Field channel means the channel which is made in order to take the agricultural water or the water which is used for the irrigation of the agricultural fields back to the fields. Suitable cropping pattern introduction, development of groundwater to supplement surface water, modernization of irrigation system and providing the rotational supply of water to ensure equitably and assured distribution of water to individual farms. So basically this particular program was for the irrigation purposes, and you will see that post 2016 this particular scheme has been submerged under PM Krishi Sinchai Yojna, right? PM Krishi Sinchai Yojna is the umbrella scheme for all the irrigation related works, and hence this particular scheme has been submerged into that. See, currently the Command Area Development Program has also been amalgamated with the PM Krishi Sinchai Yojna. Next is Minimum Needs Program by the Ministry of Rural Development. Minimum Needs Program. So these, under this program we are going to fulfill whatever the basic needs of a rural households are. This children education, adult education, electricity related components, drinking water related components and all such things are included in it. So what are the components of it? First see the year 1975-76 Minimum Needs Program of the Ministry of Rural Development. Main components were the providing universal elementary education for children up to the age of 14, adult education to improve literacy among the persons above the age of 15 years, rural public health facilities, supply of drinking water, rural electrification, environmental improvements in the slums and provision of all-weather roads to all villages having a population of 1500 persons. Next is your ITTP, that is Integrated Tribal Development Program. Please go through this on your own. Food for Work Program by Ministry of Rural Development. So under this particular program, on the one hand, you wanted to create additional employment by creating of assets which are durable in nature, which the rural community will use, and apart from that, what you are going to pay to your workers is not the wages but the food instead of wages. So Food for Work program, which was started in 1977, under this use of surplus food grains were used for payment as a wages. This was later subsumed under the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So that's what I have told you, that if you see the MG Narega scheme, this is made up of so many schemes, submersion. There is not just one or two schemes. So many schemes have been submerged in order to make this particular Narega Act in the year of 2006. Next is Desert Development Program. Desert Development Program. What are the problems in the desert area? Please think of it in your mind, and then you will be able to understand that this particular scheme has been launched so that drought prone area can be developed, watersheds can be developed, and the adverse ecological impact of desert can be minimized. Next is Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP by MORD. This was a very important program which was started in 1978. Farmers, laborers as well as the rural artisans were the beneficiaries under this. This was IRDP and the aligned programs got later merged under the Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojna. TRISEM and DWCRA are two components. What is the TRISEM? This has been asked in your previous examination. Training of rural youth for self-employment by Ministry of Rural Development. The aim was obviously to train the people. First, what kind of training? So if you belong to any rural area, you will know that polytechnics are still famous in rural areas. In polytechnics, they tell you small components of technical education that can be used by yourself in case of self-employment, right? So under this particular program, need-based technical skills were used to be provided to rural youth aging between 18 to 35 years. The category of the poor to enable them to take the self-employment. Apart from it, 30% of the trainees should belong to SC/ST and 33% should be women. Next is NREP, National Rural Employment Program by MORD. What we want to try to do over here is rural employment. This is the thing. How we will create rural employment? In order to create rural employment, you have to provide a job, right? And you cannot create administrative level jobs which are beyond your capacity. So Ministry of Minority Affairs video will be uploaded very soon. So please just wait for it. That is going to be uploaded very soon. By the way, by that time, we are going to conduct live sessions for this Ministry of Rural Development schemes. So see over here. Who is going to implement this particular National Rural Employment Program at that particular time? So DRDA, District Rural Development Agency. What they were used to do over here is food grains were to be provided at the rate of 1 kg for man day. Later it got merged under the Jawahar Rojgar Yojna, and you will see there are so many employment related schemes, right? And eventually all of these has got merged under your MG Narega. Eventually every employment related schemes. Next is DWCRA, that is Development of Women and Children. Firstly, pilot basis 50 districts were selected and then it got extended to all the districts. Here we wanted to focus on the life of poor women and children in the rural areas. Next is Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program. It was the part of NREP as well, but it is limited to rural landless workers only. Landless labor means obviously those people who are having land in their name will be called as farmers, but these are the laborers who are not having any kind of land and they spend their day by working on the fields of another. So hence there was a separate scheme launched for these people, and the scheme said that we are going to provide guaranteed employment to at least one person of every landless labor household up to 100 days in a year. Again, a provision which we are going to see in our MG Narega. MG Narega is a very crucial scheme, very important, and can be said to be lifeline of the rural India. And you must have seen at the time of COVID as well. So MG Narega was so crucial at that point of time. Hence the talks were started that why don't we have an urban version of MG Narega. So please, whenever we'll do the MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi Narega, please focus on it because that is very important. Next is Indira Awas Yojna by Ministry of Rural Development. Started in the year 1984-85. Obviously, the purpose was to help the rural people who cannot afford a house to build a house of their own. Right now, this particular scheme has been submerged, or you can say the name has been changed to Pradhanmantri Awas Yojna, the rural part, right? Indira Gandhi Awas Yojna, it was launched in 1985-86. The scope was extended to non-SC/ST families also in rural areas. It was dealing from the Jawahar Rojgar Yojna and it was made an independent scheme. Who were going to be the beneficiaries? So houseless poor families, those who are living in kacha houses, with a component for providing house sites to the landless poor as well. Financial assistance of 70,000 was provided in plain areas and 75,000 was provided in hilly areas. Correct? After that, even for purchase of house sites, an assistance of 20,000 was provided. Construction of toilets under Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan was mandatory. Now this particular Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan, this also has been changed. Its name has been changed, and what is its new name? Swachh Bharat, right? So now all houses which are going to be constructed under Pradhanmantri Awas Yojna are combined with the scheme of Swachh Bharat, under which a toilet is also mandatory to be constructed in all those homes. So at the national level, 60% of the funds were earmarked for SC/ST and 15% for the minorities, because the scope of this was enlarged to include non-SC/STs as well. Hence, it was important that a quota must be created for all the needy families. Hence, this particular bifurcation comes over here. From 1st April 2016, this particular scheme has been restructured into Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojna Grameen. See, most of the times as years pass, the contents of the schemes are somewhat similar. The objective, I can say, the main objective of the scheme remains same. What changes is the government, the names, and along with it, certain components are required to be changed as per the times. Therefore, the need of this name change arises. And the single objective of having so many schemes in different names is just one, that we are having a prime ministerial kind of government and parliamentary form of government, and under this particular form your government changes in every 5 years. So this is the drawback of having such kind of government. Next is Million Wells Scheme. Million Well Schemes 1988-89. Why started? To open wells for irrigation. It was provided to SC/ST beneficiaries free of cost. It became a component of the Jawahar Rojgar Yojna. See, all these Rojgar Yojnas have a component that they want to create durable asset for future use, right? Now, what are these durable assets? Durable assets which are going to be useful for all the residents in a rural setup, like your Panchayat Bhavan, your school, school. Apart from it, the ponds in the village setup, wells, and so many kind of different community works which are important from a rural perspective, right? Next is Jawahar Rojgar Yojna, launched in 1989. When it was launched, these two particular schemes, National Rural Employment and the Landless Labour Scheme, employment related scheme, or both of these got merged under Jawahar Rojgar Yojna. The aim of this particular scheme was they wanted to provide an assured employment to at least a member of your every BPL family in the rural areas for 50 to 100 days in a year, so that meaningful employment can be created, economic infrastructure can be created. Now, what kind of projects or what kind of things these particular people worked on? So they worked on all weather road construction, minor irrigation work, soil and water conservation, water harvesting, wasteland development, farm and forestry, etc. Now, overall objective, you can understand, this is the revision or the repetition of the same thing which I am telling you again and again. Here they wanted to provide the productive assets to the rural poor. Apart from it, employment, basic infrastructure facilities like clean drinking water, medical facilities, etc. to provide clinical and other types of guidance and support to unemployed. Now, who are going to the beneficiaries? Preference was given to SC/ST and the free bonded labor. 30% reservations was there for the women. Now, this particular scheme was revamped again in the name of Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojna with effect from 1999. During this particular period, governments were changing quite frequently, right? Sometimes BJP's government was coming, sometimes Congress governments were coming. So even in Congress government, the prime ministers were changing. So that's why the scheme's name, you will see that there are slight variations to so that a particular name and fame can be created to for whatever government which is ruling at that particular moment of time. Next is Million Well Scheme. Again a sub-scheme under Jawahar Rojgar Yojna. 6% of the total Jawahar Rojgar funds were earmarked for Indira Awas Yojna. 20% of the total for the Million Wells Scheme. Now, not that important, but what you just have to remember is that it was a sub-scheme under the Jawahar Rojgar Yojna. The intention behind this particular scheme, you already know about it. NRY, Nehru Rojgar Yojna, this was created for the urban poverty elevation, right? So here, this is can be called as an urban wage employment program, and housing and shelter upgradation was also a component of this. Next is EAS, Employment Assurance Scheme by Ministry of Rural Development. What is the assurance? That up to 100 days of assured manual employment will be provided at the statutory minimum wages to each wage employment seeker in the rural areas. Maximum 2 beneficiaries from each families. Drought prone, desert, tribal and hill areas were covered over here. And all the work started have to be labor intensive and have a wage material ratio of 60-40. Now what is this wage material ratio? See, we can employ a labor to do a certain kind of work which is not as much labor intensive, right? Labor required might be a lesser part of it, but all these employment guarantee schemes, whatever we are going to study, they make sure that whatever work is to be carried out under the particular scheme has to be labor intensive. Labor intensive means material requirement should be less, but labor component should be more, because ultimate intention is, yes, the ultimate intention is creation of assets, but at the same time the larger focus lies on that whether we are able to provide employment to our laborers or not. So hence the particular of wage material ratio is 60-40 under employment assurance scheme. Next is National Social Assistance Program. Very important. So I hope that you guys know about directive principles. Directive principles, DPSP. DPSPs are very important in our constitution. As per directive principles, the state is directed or the government is directed that if you have funds, then you should be making all of your policies on the following lines. So in your directive principles of state policy, it has been said that a state should ensure equal wages for the equal work. Means there should be no gender biasness. State should be able to provide work for the unemployed. State should be able to provide the social assistance in the time of distress for women who are in need, for the elderly, for the disabled, so that everyone could live a quality life, right? So with this particular intention, National Social Assistance Program was started in order to fulfill the directive principles which are given in Article 41 and 42 of the Indian Constitution. Here we will see that a helpful provision or the pension provision is there for every kind of needy person. This is an important scheme. We are going to study it in detail. Social audit is to be conducted by Gram Sabha Ward Committee at least once in 6 months. First is Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. Under this particular schemes, who are going to be the beneficiaries? The senior citizens who are above the age of 60 years. Pension of 200 rupees per month. All those who are senior citizens. And who are above the age of 80 years, we call them as super senior citizens. So these super senior citizens are having a provision of pension 500 rupees per month. Next component is National Family Benefit Scheme. Under this, 20,000 is provided as a lump sum assistance to the bereaved household in the event of death of breadwinner, the person who was responsible for earning the livelihood for the whole family. If he dies, then under National Family Benefit Scheme, the family is going to get the 20,000 rupees. Next is Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme. So all those widow eligibility is age should be 40 years and pension they will get is 300 rupees per month. 500 rupees per month will be given after attaining the age of 80 years of age. Indira Gandhi Disability Pension Scheme. Eligibility is 18 years with disability level of 80%. Pension of 300 rupees per month and 500 rupees per month if the age is above than 18 years. Dwarfs are also eligible under this. Next is Annapurna. This is food security for senior citizens who remain uncovered under the Indira Gandhi National Scheme. This old age pension scheme. If they are not getting any benefit under the old age pension scheme, then they will be getting benefit under this particular Annapurna scheme. The intention behind this is that you cannot be a beneficiary of all the schemes under government. You must be getting benefit under only one scheme, because what happens is that you are taking the benefit whose eligible beneficiary can be someone else. So you should not be getting benefited at the cost of others. Here under this particular Annapurna component, you are going to get 10 kg of food grains per month per beneficiary. Now comes your Rural Employment Generation Program on 1st April 1995 by KVIC. Who is going to tell me the full form of KVIC? Who is going to tell me the full form of KVIC? KVIC is a statutory organization, right? KVIC has aimed for generating 20 lakhs job in the KVI sector. KVI means Khadi and Village Industries Corporation. KVIC's full form it is. It is a statutory organization and it is mainly focused for the employment generation or revival of the traditional techniques of Khadi related and the other technical things also, which are having the potential of regenerating the village based industries. So here how they are doing it, they are providing margin money, subsidy as well as the loan facilities. Who are beneficiaries? Self-help groups, individuals as well as the cooperative societies. Both the schemes, Indira Awas Yojna and the Million Well schemes, were made independent programs and JRY became the General Jawahar Rojgar Yojna and the innovative Jawahar Rojgar Yojna. Now next is 1997 Swarna Jayanti Shehri Rojgar Yojna by Ministry of Housing. Launched after subsuming the earlier schemes of poverty alleviation like Nehru Rojgar, Urban Basic Services for Poor, Prime Minister's Integrated Urban Poverty Eradication Program as well. Here they wanted to provide the urban unemployed and the underemployed the what you can say help so that they are eligible to take the employment. The components were the step up, skill training for the employment promotion for urban poor. Next is urban self-employment promotion, loan up to 2 lakhs with subsidy of 25%. Urban wage employment promotion by having a 60-40 material labor ratio, and urban women SSG promotion so that a subsidy of 3 lakh or 35% of the project were given to the members of the group up to 5 members and 25,000 for revolving fund at the rate of 2,000 maximum per member. So what see, first understand what are, yes. So next is your Women SSG program. Women SSG means when the self-help groups, these are the informal groups which come together, like suppose 5 or 10 women members have come together in order to perform an economic activity. So for that purpose, here what we are going to give is subsidy of 3 lakh or 35% of cost of project or 60,000 per member of the group up to 5 members. That means they imposed a limit as well. Then three types of things have been given, either 3 lakhs rupees or 35% cost of project or 60,000 multiplied by up to 5 members, whichever is your less. 60,000 multiplied by 5. So this is how your support will be provided. 25,000 is also given at the rate of 2,000 maximum per member. Now, urban community development network is also a part of it, so that groups of urban families or urban population can come together and can be formed into groups which can have an employment objective of their own. Next is Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojna. This is a revamped version of the Jawahar Gram Yojna by Ministry of Rural Development. Here again, the focus will be on the infrastructure and the wage employment. Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojna, self-employment opportunities to be created for the rural families or the low-income families in the households. Now, under this particular scheme, see, so many schemes have been clubbed up. See, these many schemes have been subsumed. IRDP, training of rural youth, TRISEM, development of women and children, Ganga Kalyan Yojna, as well as the Million Wells scheme. Supply of improved toolkits to rural artisans. This was 1992. Here, hand tools which are needed by the artisans were provided. Artisans had to pay just 10% and rest was the subsidy from the central government. Please remember the full forms of this, like CITRA is the supply of improved toolkits. Beneficiaries are again the BPL households. They are identified through the BPL census. Rural poor, such as those with land and landless labor, educated, unemployment, these are also covered under this particular scheme. This was to be focused on the vulnerable section of rural poor like SC, ST 50%, women 40% and disabled were having the quota of 3%. Now please do not get confused at ma'am 50, 40 and 3 all of this. So we are telling, first we are giving a quota on the basis of caste, that is SC, ST. Then we are seeing the whole population in terms of gender, right? So we are giving a quota of 40% to the women. And then we are seeing in the form of disabled also. Now funding pattern was 75-25. Revolving fund from 5,000 from the banks as cash credit facility. Revolving fund is a type of working capital. These are provided. See, in your business, one is the capital which is fixed, right? That is, you are going to need that. Apart from that, there is a working capital as well. If I talk in the terms of accounts, working capital means it is a sum of the cash which is in your hand, the amount which you are going to collect from your customers, and the inventory which you are having into your stock, or which you are going to sell that. So all these items form your working capital. Working capital means you are going to need at least this much amount of item with you in order to run your business on daily basis, right? So this is for revolving fund, is for the working capital related things. Next is banks may charge interest only on the sum exceeding 10,000. Refinancing of Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojna loans by banks from the NABARD. National Rural Livelihood Mission replaced the Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojna scheme with effect from the April 1st, 2013. Please remember this. Similar to National Rural Livelihood Mission, we also have National Urban Livelihood Mission. Correct? So this particular Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojna has been subsumed under this National Rural Livelihood Mission, and the main objective of this particular scheme is they wanted to support self-help group formation. How? They want to provide, first a group is formed. it is better than having a single person doing the job. Rather than we should have 10 people who are putting their, what you can say, capital, their mind, their brain, as well as their hard work to achieve some kind of objective. So these particular schemes are in support of formation of self-help groups, and so that credits are also provided, and hence a result of out of that we can create employment facilities. Now next is Sampurn Grameen Swarojgar Yojna. This has been formed by your Jawahar Grameen Rozgar Yojna as well as Employment Assurance Scheme. Sum up of all both of these, you can do it on your own. Next is in the 2003, Ministry of Rural Development launched a scheme called as Haryali. Here what they are going to do is wasteland development, drought prone areas development, desert development, and this was implemented from the 2003. What were the projects? Harvesting every drop of rainwater, ensuring overall development of rural areas by creating regular sources of income. Next is employment generation, poverty alleviation, support to rainwater harvesting, mitigating the extreme impacts like of drought and desertification, restoring ecological balances by harnessing and conserving developing natural resources. So basically what you have to remember is the name of scheme. Objectives are not so difficult for your understanding purpose. Name is Haryali, where they want to bring the Haryali in the desert areas, right? Or in the rural setups, they want to maintain ecological balance again. These are all the objectives. Objectives are not at all difficult. What you have to remember is which particular ministry has launched it. Ministry of Rural Development. Next is your National for Food for Work program. This was provided out of the resources from the Swarn Jayanti Grameen Swarojgar Yojna for most backward districts. The main impact was for food grains to be provided under this particular schemes, and this also has been subsumed under the Mahatma Gandhi Narega scheme. Now we are going to start the important schemes. Now these particular schemes we'll be studying in detail, and the very important thing over here is that these schemes are currently running. They have not been stopped, they have not been submerged into other kinds of scheme. They are still running, and hence we need to understand each part of it. Number one is your Pradhanmantri Grameen Sadak Yojna. So let me tell you, India is having such a huge land part, correct? And in this particular land part, in various areas of our country, lands are too good. And in some areas, lands are still not existent. So remember this particular thing, this scheme has started in the year 2000, and 23 years have passed since the launch of this particular scheme. There have been various phases under what government has decided that okay, first we'll focus the land construction in these particular areas. So the phases have been divided as per the area and as per the population concentration. So obviously think about yourself. If suppose in whole of the country roads are not there, so first government will think, let's connect all the state capitals. This will be the first priority. Why? Because these are important politically as well, and apart from that, from the population angle as well. Your Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojna, it focuses on the population level. That okay, what is the population? So we are going to cover this particular scheme phase wise, right? Let's start with it. See, what is the aim under this particular scheme? This was started in the year 2000, providing all-weather road connectivity to eligible. See, this was launched on 25th December. Obviously, Christmas was there, but there is another special occasion on this. So please try to find out why this particular scheme was launched on this particular day. Aim is, we want to provide all-weather road connectivity to all eligible unconnected habitations in the rural areas. Now there is the population criteria: 500 in plains, 250 in hills and tribes, 100 in left-wing extremism areas as identified by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now tell me, do you understand that what is left-wing extremism? Do you understand left-wing extremism, or what are the areas which are impacted by it? Please, if you don't, then please try to find about it. Please try to search about it. Let me tell you with the perspective of this particular scheme. So the eastern part of our country, that is a small part of Jharkhand, a larger part of Chhattisgarh, and as well as a small part of Odisha. Apart from it, a small part of Kerala as well is affected from this left wing, yes, left wing extremism, right? So what I have told you is the state related thing, that this there is an ideology, right? The Marxist ideology through which these particular areas are impacted. They want to overthrow the government and they want to establish the people's rule, but that is their ideology. You have to just remember the areas. So what kind of areas I am talking over here? I am talking about Chhattisgarh. In this particular scheme, a small part, what you can say, the southern part of Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Jharkhand. These are the parts which are impacted heavily by the Naxals. You can call it as Naxal. Term is Naxalbari was a place in West Bengal, right? So that is why the word Naxals come from there. Next thing, funding. 60-40 in the normal states, 90-10 in the Himalayan states, and 100% in the UTs. So 75 paisa per litre earmark for this particular scheme out of cess levied on the high speed diesel. So your diesel, government imposes a cess on the diesel, and that particular cess is being used for constructing the roads in the rural sides of our country. So this part is related to the funding. The administrative cost will be limited to the 2.25% of total project cost. All fund flow will through the public financial management system. This is a particular system which has been created by Ministry of Finance. So this all part is related to the funding. Every litre that we purchase, 75 paisa on every litre is a cess that goes for the construction of Pradhanmantri Grameen Sadak Yojna. Yes, very good. Good, Nivedita. PM Grameen Sadak Yojna Phase 1. So Phase 1 lasted for a good 14 years, started from 2000, lasting till 2030, for providing the rural connectivity. To provide all-weather access to eligible unconnected habitations with a population up to 500, as per Census 2001 in plain area and 250 and above in special category states. Funding pattern was, it was 100% centrally funded program at that particular time. In the Phase 1, this was 100% centrally funded. Then second phase 2013 to 2019. Now in second phase, you are going to cover all those areas which were not covered by you in the first place. So here again, in the population category of 100 to 249. For upgradation of the selected through routes and the major rail links with a target to upgrade 50,000 kilometers in various states and the union territories. And lastly, a separate program, or you can say a separate component, was launched to upgrade the roads in your left-wing extremism part. So rural connectivity projects for left-wing extremism affected area was launched as separate vertical under the Pradhanmantri Grameen Sadak Yojna. The Phase 3 started from March 2019 and is still running. Here we want to provide connectivity of habitations with grams and higher secondary schools and hospitals. Now, the states and UTs would be able to join this particular phase only after 100% of works of phase 1 and phase 2 have been covered. Funding: 60-40 general states, 90-10 northeast plus 3 states of Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and the UK, that is your Himalayan states, and 100% in the union territories. What we are trying to do over here is we want to consolidate 125,000 kilometers through routes and major rural links so that we can collect the Grameen agricultural markets. Grameen agricultural markets means the government is trying to revive the village as the center of trade, and hence it can lead to employment generation, providing the commodities which are needed by your rural population, and said you can understand this as a setting of a village kind of hearts. So here under this particular thing, we want to collect all the rural marketplaces with the higher secondary schools and hospitals. The estimated cost is 80,000 crores, in which central share has been given. Next, in order to meet the state share, state may use NABARD's Rural Infrastructure Development Fund loan facility or levy additional taxes, utilize mandi-related revenue, external assistance from the multilateral development agencies, etc. So, states have so many resources through which they can obtain funds. Now, one more question I would like to ask you. What is this RIDF? This is a point which is related with your economy perspective, NABARD's Rural Infrastructure Development Fund or the facility, you can call it as. Please read about it. This is linked with your banks as well, right? If you know that there is a priority sector lending norms which every bank has to comply with, and hence this is linked with this particular thing. So I would like you to do a more research on this NABARD's Rural Infrastructure Development Facility, or just have a read about it. Don't do PhD on it, just read about it. What are the key features? So maintenance of rural roads which are constructed under Pradhanmantri Grameen Sadak Yojna is the responsibility of state government. The Pradhanmantri Grameen Sadak Yojna encourages use of green technologies and non-conventional materials. A provision has been made that minimum 15% of the total length should be created under new technologies like geotextiles, wax plastics, etc. Now, I'll tell you what are these new textiles. So, geotextiles is the kind of material that can be laid on the road. This comes in the material of fiber material, but it can be used for the road construction. There are so many technologies, like we also have if you know that in your power plants, whenever we burn the coal, the residue what we get is fly ash, right? So fly ash has also been mandated to use in the construction of roads. All these kinds of like your wax plastics and all these new innovative technologies, they provide strength to the road, and apart from that, they are also environmentally efficient. We reduce our carbon footprints, and hence this is as per my opinion, in my opinion, this is an important point which you should see. In any scheme, whatever kind of scheme you are studying, there will be a certain component which is a general sense or common sense that you should be aware of. But whenever time when you are reading any particular scheme, establish a mentality that you are going to ask question from yourself, or you try to make question by yourself, that in this particular scheme I would like to make a question that okay, this thing is written, now what are the new technologies? Why would government like to include these particular new technologies? Obviously certain benefits will be there. Has government set any particular reservation for this? Yes. So government has said 15% should be reserved for new technologies. So when you start asking questions from yourself at that moment of time, you will be able to remember the things for a longer period of time. Like we have read about the provision that state government is going to maintain the road for the guarantee period, right? So read about it. Next is your online management and monitoring accounting system. This is a GIS system where you will identify wherever the progress has been made. So geospatial is like your maps, right? What we GPS, they are global positioning system, what we know it as. So we are able to reach any destination because we know the location. So this is a new technology where you are monitoring the construction work which is ongoing, how much construction has been completed, how much length has already been covered. So this is a kind of online monitoring that the implementing agencies will do. Road specifications are also provided by Ministry of Rural Development, like what should be the geometry, how the design should happen, how construction will also happen. These are all being specified by Ministry of Rural Development. National Rural Infrastructure Development Agencies will provide the operational and management support to the particular program. Asian Institute of Transport Development, this has been engaged by Ministry of Rural Development so that they can give the workshops and they can provide the training to the engineers of the road department. State level rural development, rural roads development agency is the implementing agency at the state level, and similarly we also have the district level implementing agencies for block level roads. Once approved by district panchayat, a copy of the district road program would be sent to state level standing committee, and once it approves, the state level rural roads development agency will give it to the National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency. So this is in relation to your plan. How a particular road will be planned, first district level authority will do, then your state level authority will review it, and finally it will be given to the National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency, which is responsible for providing the operational support for program. Then there is an e-governance platform of eMark. Here they are going to maintain the whatever rural roads have been constructed under this particular program. Next is Meri Sadak. Under this is a feedback system. You can provide your feedback, and apart from that the Sukhad Yatra app where you can tell about the road conditions as well as you can lodge any of the complaints. So these Meri Sadak and the Sukhad Yatra are your feedback mechanisms. eMark is an e-governance platform. E-governance platform means this will be used by the government for their record maintenance. So this is it. We have completed the previous schemes as well as one important scheme of Pradhanmantri Grameen Sadak Yojna. I hope you were able to understand this, and if you did, then please do not forget to like this video. Thank you so much.